Hi guys, it's Peanut Butter Ice Cream Bar. So I am here once again with Chelsea. Actually I never left. But we're talking more about his backstory, what he was like during Mars while he was trapped in this rain. So if you haven't watched his previous character videos, and if you haven't watched my character Mars, his character videos, this might make slightly less sense than it will anyway. Okay, cool. So starting off right where we left off last time. Look at that arm pose. That's just what this body does. It's like... So starting right where we left off before, Chelsea is taken by Mars and worn. And Chelsea realizes when Mars is wearing the ring every day, his powers to influence Mars become stronger. He even finds out that he can take possession of Mars's body when Mars is extremely scared or angry or tired, or just plain old asleep. He can also tell what Mars is thinking, maybe a little too much. And while at first the idea seems simple of just, you know, take possession of this body all the time, he comes up with a better idea. See, Chelsea likes to be on this planet that we're calling Erebus for the moment, but he likes to be there. He likes to be there with living people and not in Cerebel. But in order to be on Erebus and not in Cerebel, he has to have an active contract. The only reason, to his knowledge, that he hasn't gotten whisked off to Cerebel is because he can't take anything from Erebus back to Cerebel. It doesn't work like that. So the ring that he's stuck in, the object he's stuck in, is actually anchoring him in his current location. But like I said, he doesn't really want to go back to Cerebel. He realizes now, after having all that time to think, that his previous attempts at ruining people's lives, at manipulating people, they were not very good. And he really doesn't want to go back to Cerebel and wait to be summoned again. He wants to be summoned right away and then have free run of the place so he can, you know, continue trying his hand at his new craft. What he really needs then, if he wants to have all of that, is a new contract. I need a contract for something to hold this guy. So this is where the lie is born. He goes with ghosts because Mars thinks things are moving around in his house, which they are, because when Mars goes to sleep, Chelsea takes possession of his body and like wanders around and doesn't put things back correctly. And Mars mistakes this for being haunted. Chelsea encourages this belief, hoping not just to make Mars feel special and create a bond of trust, but also hoping to eventually create a bond of love, because he wants to make sure that Mars will be the perfect host for his contract. So within my writing, this is kind of the basics of how a contract works. You summon a demon, you say, I'll give you 2 cats in exchange for 10 commands, or I'll give you my whole self in exchange for 100 commands, something like that, and you haggle and barter, and eventually you strike a deal and you make a contract. While under the contract, the demon thing, the resident of Cerebel, cannot hurt the summoner, and once the contract is fulfilled and you give all commands that you were able to, that you had contracted, rather, then the demon goes back to Cerebel with whatever you promised it. Unless it's Trixie, and then something else might happen. But what is a command, exactly? Well, a command is this. It works in a very specific way. Basically, you have to meet it. A command is not a request. A command is you forcing your will upon someone and not giving them a choice. If you can't feel your command, if you can't feel your force of will upon someone, then it doesn't count and you can't give it. So now that we're clear on the basics, we can understand Chelsea's plan a little bit better. His goal is to make Mars, who's already meek and unassuming, fall in love with him and then make a contract with him, without his knowledge, of course. If he accomplishes this, he believes that Mars will not only never want to give him commands, but will actually be unable to give him commands. It's all very fussy though. He needs to trick Mars into thinking he's releasing Chelsea's spirit from the rain, and to do this basically drives Mars to exhaustion with fake ghost hunts and, you know, gets all these books of like dangerous super occult things, and then in his own hand, while possessing Mars's body, writes down how to summon him, which Mars then thinks, I know, he writes in library books too, the scoundrel. And then Mars thinks, you know, oh my god, a secret incantation in this old library book by ancient persons unknown, it must be the truth. But even for that to work, he had to disguise it in a way that looks like it's not just forming a contract. So, the contract that he has Mars perform is very simple. It is a few drops of blood, which he would have already given during his releasing the spirit ceremony, so this is actually a prepaid contract, if you will, for only a small number of commands, like 8 or 9. And it's a pretty big risk for Chelsea because he doesn't even know if he can be summoned out of the ring in the way that someone would summon him out of Cerebell, but of course we know it does work. And Chelsea does stick around for a while, being as perfect a lover he can be for a moment. When he leaves, he tells Mars this is because he just wanted to see how far he could take the lie, and that is partway true, but more important than that, he had to ensure that Mars had a feeling for him that made him unable to give Chelsea commands, to force his will on Chelsea. He needed to ensure, at least in his mind, that that is what he had accomplished with Mars, so that Mars could, you know, do whatever and pine after him forever, and Chelsea would be free to roam around, not being in Cerebell, having an active contract, pretty much until Mars dies. After he felt like he was satisfied, you know, he up and left easy as 1, 2, 3, because he was not all about hanging out with Mars for the rest of his life. That was like not the prerogative. Yeah, of course, you know, he's not a guy who really thinks ahead. He never really thought Mars might actually become a different person and change who he is and actually seek Chelsea out again. But, you know, that's a whole other thing. I suppose while I have him here, I'm definitely thinking that Chelsea is a character I'm going to try and get a different sculpt, a visual collection sculpt. Not just because, I mean it is because he's an older doll, but also because this is a very hard head to match with a body because it's so old and yellow. It works with this body, which is also old, but I don't really want him anymore on these like short, thin bodies. I think I want him to be taller than this. So I'm gonna see, possibly getting Chelsea in a new form. It's something I think I'm gonna try, so hopefully you guys will get to see that. I'm hoping this spring, but like I said, actually I didn't say that. If you read my last like blog entry thing on my website, you can read about how I just spent a whole poopy bucket full of money. That's really gross. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!